I would sit there and think, like, not just who am I, but am I a person with needs that matter? Because the person level needs certainly didn't feel like they were getting fulfilled.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Reesa and I'm your host. We are talking to real families about real stories here on The Real Family Eats, where we've got food for thought and thoughtful food. So let's eat. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I am excited to have you here, and I'm excited for our guest who is joining us today. We have Krissy. Hi there, Krissy. Thanks so much for being willing to be a guest today.
Hi, Reesa. Thank you so much for having me. We met before when we talked on my podcast, and I'm so excited to talk to you again because you are such a joy. You are wonderful to work with.
Well, thank you, and so are you. So that's why I had to have you on my podcast too, because it's just I think we got a good vibe, good thing going here. So I'm so excited. So for anybody who doesn't know you, can you introduce yourself for us?
Definitely, yeah. So I am a stay-at-home mom to two young boys. Right now, they're ages 2 and 3.5, almost 4. That's coming faster than you believe, which is, everyone believes it. And they are just totally wild, and I get no sleep, and it's just chaos. And we have so much fun together. In my pockets of time, I run my Instagram account, which is Mom Identity Project, where I'm really leaning into helping moms figure out who they are after becoming a mom and being okay with recognizing that you are a different person and that you aren't weird for this. And my podcast is coming out February 27th called Mom's Guide to Finding Herself, where I can really get into a lot of that details and share stories like yours of who you are after becoming a mom and what led you there.
Yeah. And make sure to check that out, not just so you can see my lovely face too, but there's a lot of awesome content in there. So I'm so excited for you and your relaunching of that. All right. So let's jump in before we get to your story. You're sharing a recipe with us. So tell us what recipe you're sharing and why did you choose this one?
Yes. So I was before becoming a mom, a very independent woman. I had my condo. I lived alone for many years, and it was just me. And I don't know if you remember the trend that happened like a couple years ago, girl dinner. My
Mm-hmm.
life was girl dinner. It would be like
Okay.
rice with black beans, or just something, the raw ingredients that just came together to become something bland but nutritious enough. Um,
Yes.
so this chicken pot pie meal was one of the first things that I started to become a little more tiptoey out of, like, okay, I can actually cook something for myself, but still super easy, super accessible for anyone who is still in the girl dinner phase with your family. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge fan of it
Mhm.
still. And so a lot of frozen vegetables, a lot of pre-prepped ingredients. That way you can throw them together and make something yummy and still feel like you did a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that because you had a little hot tip on kind of your chicken and being able to kind of, as you mentioned, have things that were maybe already pre-prepped and you could just throw together a little bit quicker. So can you tell us kind of the steps, those tips for us? I'll get things going while we chat.
Yes, absolutely. So a rotisserie chicken was, I think, is that where you went with it?
I
Rotisserie? Yep.
did. Yes.
Okay, great. So getting a rotisserie chicken that's already cooked, those are the juiciest chickens. I don't know
Mhm.
how they do it because anytime I cook chicken, I feel like it's just constantly tough. It's probably a lack of practice, but they have it made for like $6. I don't know. It's like
Mhm.
nothing, like this whole chicken, that's so juicy and delicious. So you can just start ripping it apart, right? Taking that breast meat or dark meat, whatever, the whole thing, rip it apart, shred it up. You could even take a huge chunk of meat off and throw it in your KitchenAid mixer and put it on really quick and it shreds it for you. So all
Okay.
done, ready to go. You can just shred it up and I don't know, stick it in a bowl. And then you take your cans of creamed chicken right? Or a cream of chicken, and you can dump that in the pot, and you can dump the frozen vegetables as is in the pot because guess what? They're going to cook as they melt. So you don't have
Mhm.
to do anything. Roll and then I don't remember. I haven't done this in a long time. I should have done this beforehand. My husband is the cook now. So he has adopted this recipe for me where I think we put it in the pot and kind of mix it up and get it all juicy and nice. And then we roll out the dough
Okay.
and just a prepackaged pie crust. We are not making a pie crust here. I feel like even the best bakers often use pre-made pie crust. But hot tip, don't use the Aldi pie crusts. They're too
Okay.
sweet. I find
Oh,
them very sweet.
interesting.
Yes. We didn't
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Aldi. I'm a big fan of saving money, but there's some things like just go with the Pillsbury. Um, and so roll that out, put your mixture on. If you have a lot of extras, sometimes I double it up so we can freeze a whole bag of that mixture and we can defrost it later. And then you've got another chicken pot pie ready to go. Put the crust on top, throw it in the oven. Voila, you have.
Nice.
Oh, and potatoes, cut potatoes, right? Do you have
Okay.
potatoes? I don't know if you
So
did,
I
if I told you.
I did not do potatoes
It's okay.
on this one, and that was more just last night. I said I I'm a mom right now, and things are wild, and I didn't have time to peel and
Yes.
keep a potato.
I get it. I get it. Potatoes are a priority in my life of all times, but everybody has a different priority. I
Yes,
would eat a potato for every single meal of the day. So that is me. There is a video of me on my honeymoon eating several potatoes because it was just
really.
so yeah, it's the Irish in me. I think that it just comes out. It's like a deep rooted love that's there in my genetics.
Yes. Well, I can appreciate that. I think I'm similar, but mine is rice. I'm Filipino, and so
There you
I
go.
mean, my husband's also Irish. So when we do kind of St. Patrick's Day with your, corned beef and the potatoes, I have to have rice on the side of mine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
it's just
strangest
starch.
thing.
Choose your
Yes.
starch of choice. And we'll be
Right,
happy.
absolutely. I love it. Okay. Well, I can absolutely do that. As you mentioned, steps are fairly straightforward. So
Yeah.
I'll get going, mixing this up and getting my pot pie all together while we chat. And I'm so thankful for you being willing to kind of come and share a little bit about your story and just some of the journeys that you've navigated within your parenthood life, because I think it's so important to be able to just get the awareness out there, taking down that curtain and really kind of letting others know that this thing is really hard.
Mhm.
So, could you share with us a little bit about some of the hard that you have had to kind of navigate on your journey?
Definitely. Now, I think one of the big things is my Instagram, my business, my podcast isn't about finding yourself an identity by accident, right? This is something that has been a theme throughout my motherhood journey where I, like a lot of people, had a really clear picture of who I was going to be as a mom before I had kids. I had this fantasy, this image. It wasn't even a fantasy. It was just like my plan. Like this was my goal of I was going to be going to every library play date or every, library story time and every mom group that could ever come in under the sun. I had been saving prenatal yoga classes in the area for years. Like at that point, once I had decided that I was going to become a mom, like I had a spreadsheet going of all of these things, all of these communities, all of these things that I could be a part of because I was so genuinely excited to become a part of this community, to be a mom and to do that. So I had these things, and then I had my baby in 2021. And those things didn't exist anymore. They were not
Yeah.
mom groups. They just weren't happening. I was a part of mom groups virtually, but it's just not quite the same. I did
Hmm.
make a friend through it, which I'm very lucky that I was able to make a connection because it's tough. It's hard to actually first of all being on a Zoom call with a new baby or when you're pregnant, you just can't think about the other people in the room because you're focused on that. So it's kind of like, okay, I'll listen long enough to know when it's my turn on the hot seat to ask my lactation question or whatever, my diaper question. And then
Yeah.
you kind of just have to put yourself on mute and do your thing because you're at home. Like a different,
Hmm.
maybe I'm wrong, but I think bringing a baby to a different space puts you in just a different mindset and the baby, everything else. So it was first the first part of my transition was tough because these things that I had visioned myself being a part of just didn't exist. I did Zoom
Hmm.
story times because I felt like I just wanted to try to be a part of that still. And then when the summer came and things started opening back up again, I was able to go out to those, and we were part of outdoor story times, which were lovely and wonderful and great. And that's really when I started to feel like I was lighting up again. I was going on a lot of hikes with my baby. I would put him in the carrier. We would like walk to the waterfall, and we would have a great time. And then I got pregnant again very quickly. I got pregnant and he was what, like 10, it was less than a year old. So 9, 10,
Okay.
11 months. And very quickly you're not going for hikes anymore because that
Yes.
pregnancy exhaustion, I think that's one of the things that we forget so fast. I remember being tired, but holy cow, the exhaustion is unreal. You physically can't stay awake sometimes, right?
Well, and
Did
not
you
only
experience
that,
that? Yeah.
yeah, you're combining it with having to keep up with another child. And I think that was at least my experience,
Hmm.
where I found myself each time kind of a new level of tired that I had never experienced before.
Yes.
I remember being in college and going, I was a theater major, so we were up at all hours and just being like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited,
Yep.
exhausted to get up for my 8 a.m. class the
Yep.
next morning. And then I went to graduate school and I was like, oh man, this is a new level of tired, because this is a lot of work. And then, like you said, then you get pregnant and you add that, and it's like, no man, I have never known exhaustion. This is exhaustion. And then
Right.
I had my second kid, like you're saying, and now
Yep.
I'm trying to keep up with this toddler while also having that same, level of exhaustion.
Yep.
But I didn't have the ability to just go rest when I wanted to rest, because
Yep.
that's usually when my child was up and running. So that makes
Right.
so much sense. I relate to all of that.
Right. So there was no more library play dates because for a while there was. I still went for a long time, but then eventually, my toddler was toddling and now running around. Like, we would be outside and he would jet and like dart straight to the parking lot, or do all the things to run around. And now I've got this big old belly that I'm trying to chase him with, that like you just get to a point where for me I was like, this is no, the benefit it is not existing. I would rather be at home chasing him there where I can rest when I need to. We can still be active, talk to the neighbors and whatnot, have people over. But going out and being a part of a community, I'm not getting the benefit from this. So we stopped doing that. Um and but it made sense at that point. It was something I was leaning into and deciding very intentionally, like, this is not good for me. Let's lean into the relaxation because there's benefit in there, which
Mm-hmm.
fine. And then the baby comes and now you're still getting used to a way of life. But soon, right, you start to feel like you want to get out again.
Yeah.
And that's where my second level of frustration came in. My like next
Okay.
slap in the face with reality. So, you get past that initial postpartum where you're recovered enough to get out and go places, see people, do things, whatever it is. You might be exhausted still, but you're ready to integrate into society.
Mm-hmm.
COVID was no longer an immediate pressing issue. There were mom groups, story times everywhere, all the things, except my baby decided that he was not going to allow for this. He would scream in the car like he was dying for the length of our trip, the duration, from the minute he got into the car seat until wherever we got, no matter how long it was. My sister lives an hour away. And a trip to hers, you can psych yourself up. You can say the baby's gonna cry, but he's gonna fall asleep. Like, he'll cry himself out. I know he's safe. I know he's fine. It doesn't feel good. It makes you feel stressed and all these things, but you know that they'll pass out. You know that they're just gonna get through it. But that wouldn't happen. It would be the entire hour, just blood curdling
Wow.
screams. I'm telling you, Risa, it was painful on so many levels. Now, my first baby cried in the car too. Sure. I mean, I feel like that's so common. A lot of babies just it's weird and it's strange, but he got used to it over time, or I found different things that could help soothe him or distract him. But Nothing was working. The sound machines, the cuddles, the his pacifier, any
Wow.
suggestion you could give me, I had tried. I would do 2 minute drives around the, I live in a cul-de-sac, so like 2 minute drives around the neighborhood just to try to normalize it, right? Put them in
Yeah.
and like let's just do that. And now we're home. See, that was great. We had so much fun. Nothing worked. I bought
Wow.
the things that I bought, the money that I spent to try to get out of the house. I even bought you know how babies love the real thing? They make toys that are like replicas of things, but they want the
Mhm.
remote, the actual
Yes.
remote. They can tell when it's real. I just went out and bought the exact same remote we had at home so we could like play it and chew on it or and
Yeah.
it just nothing worked. So I was
Wow.
essentially stuck. And it was a choice of do I if I go somewhere, I'm gonna be with the screaming baby, and it gave me the jitters. I couldn't
Mhm.
even get my like I didn't want to do that to myself. It was terrible. But the cost at that point, before when I decided that I wasn't going to go out to do things anymore, it was because I was tired, and then the benefit was I was resting and connecting with my toddler in a nice way. But
Mhm.
now the only benefit was to avoid pain, to not leave,
Wow.
you know?
I mean, gosh, that sounds just so incredibly one, a difficult spot to be in. It's either I choose what sounds like a really lonely space to be in,
Hmm.
or as you mentioned, kind of curdling screams. And I don't know about your kid, but I remember like hair standing up, like it would just like be in my body when I would hear my baby scream. So I could only
Hmm.
imagine like if that's happening, even like you said, for like an hour drive just to go visit family and try to connect in that way. Like it's like those are really hard, fork in the road, if you will.
Hmm. Right. What do I choose? Isolation or
Mm-hmm.
or unsafe driving? Truly. It's not
Yeah.
safe anymore at that point for me to be in the car unless I had to. Even a 10-minute drive at that point. I was able to do it for a long time, but then it just got to me. Like I never got used to it. I would know that we were going for 10 minutes and I would give myself pep talks and get in the car and just do it. But still, that pit in my stomach the whole time. Now, my baby was born in November. So, it was
Okay.
probably like December-ish when we started to get out and do things and I started to discover this, right? Like about a month, maybe January, but still. And I live in New England where it is cold for a very long time and very snowy. So we weren't going places, but people weren't coming to us either.
Mm.
So that was really hard. It's a long winter with a lot of sicknesses. So it's not because didn't necessarily have people who were willing to. It's just there's a lot of obstacles. There's snow and with parents who aren't necessarily comfortable driving in the snow or in cold or extreme cold conditions. Or my sister has two kids too, but they were sick all the time. That and ever never ending winter illness that a lot of us experience. It was then another layer of isolation. I remember I had a friend who I haven't seen in years. Like I haven't seen this guy in like 15 years. And he randomly reached out to me. We had a mutual connection who had passed away. So that makes you kind of just reach out to other people, even if they're on the fringes of your life. Like, hey, I just want to check in and talk to you. And I've been through enough therapy to know that I need to say when I'm struggling and ask for help. So I
Okay.
was like, ooh, somebody's reaching out to me. This is my chance. I'm going to use my skills that I've worked on to admit that I am in a tough spot. And he was saying, we live on the lake now. Come visit. Bring the boys. We're going to go for a swim. It's going to be so much fun. And I was very prepared. Yes, that sounds great. I would love to do that. However, I am in a very difficult spot in my parenting right now where I am unable to leave because my child, like, it's unreal. You wouldn't believe it. It's next level.
Yeah.
We would love to have you. Please come visit. I'm very lonely. I would love to see you. Oh, I never really get out that way, but it was great to connect. Let me know when you're going to come by.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, oh,
so it's just hard when you're in it and you're reaching out and trying the things, but your bids aren't being accepted.
yeah.
So What do you do?
I'm so curious, like in those moments, kind of, can you say more about like the headspace that you were in? I mean, I'm hearing you, and like you said, you're trying to reach out, you're trying to still make these connections in the capacity that you have, and then to kind of just still so isolated and no one kind of reaching back, if you will, or picking up
Right.
those bits for connection. Can you say more?
Yeah, sure. So it, I got into a loop where I felt just bad for myself. I was sad that these things weren't happening, that I was in this space, but I was also feeling just really like bad. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am
Mm,
I not getting what I need? What could I be doing differently? How do I need to act different? And that's a really tricky place to be in because now you're not just feeling lonely and isolated, your self-worth is also going through the basement, right? It's plummeting because now you're trying to dissect what's wrong. Why am I this person that isn't worthy of this support? Um, and that's slippery, right? Once you start going down that road of allowing your brain to really pick apart you, like we are our own worst critics. We know everything that's wrong with us. We know all of our faults. So if you ask me why me, like my brain is going to come up with so many reasons why I am not worthy of these things, especially when I'm not in a place where I'm feeling great about myself or my situation. So that's dangerous. So I quickly tried to I reached back out to my therapist. I'd gone to therapy when I was pregnant with my first because I really wanted to have a connection with somebody. I know how hard it is, first of all, to find somebody with availability and get an appointment. And then second, to find somebody you vibe with and feel comfortable with. And then third, to actually reach out when you're struggling. So I had luckily this vision in my brain when I was pregnant of this is something that I should do to help prepare myself for motherhood. So that way, if I do end up in a spot where I feel like I need extra support, I'm not facing those barriers while I'm also struggling. I have a direct road to somebody, a phone call that I can make rather than the 15 phone calls you might have to make to try to find somebody who's willing to see you. So luckily I had that line and we were able to start talking and I was able to leave the house to go to her because we were no longer in telehealth. So
yes.
it was wonderful to have an hour out of the house to just talk to somebody
Mm.
who even if that was her job, it's her job to talk to me for that hour, but it felt great to have somebody who's just had the space and the opportunity to really like talk to me. Oh, my 3-year-old is here. I forgot to lock the door. Hey, buddy. I'll be out in a minute. I know. I'm sorry. This is mom life.
right?
They're home from Costco, I guess. But okay, so having that lifeline, having somebody to talk to have that space helped me to get out of that cycle just feeling bad for myself and instead thinking, well, what can I do? What's in my control? Where can I go with this to help me get what I need, which was a blessing. It was just that's exactly what I needed to do.
Yeah. I'm I'm curious for you and your experience because I hear you mentioning that you did reach out, you kind of established
Mm.
that support, if you will, early on. Was that a decision that kind of came easily? So many times I hear folks, especially parents, where it's this idea that, hey, if I do that, whether it's I'm weak, it means I'm less than, or, as you were mentioning, we get really good, right, at
Hmm.
rationalizing why it's somehow a failing on us. And even just like you said, going out of the house for an hour. I have had so many parents that go, oh, but that's so selfish. Like, I'm
Right.
going to leave my child. And what kind of parent does that make me? Like, was that something that was at play? Like, did it take work to kind of get to that point? Can you say more?
Sure. So talking about getting to therapy now, first setting up the therapy was an issue for me initially because I feel like if you are a planner, your brain, your planning, your type A brain on in pregnancy mode is like in overdrive. Like, let's nest this whole thing. Let's figure it all out. So, setting up a therapist and doing that preliminary work for me was like, I am productive.
Okay.
I am meeting my needs. I am doing my future self a favor. So, like, it was just kind of part of it. It was as for me as feeling as productive as buying the dresser. Like it just
Okay.
felt like great. Like we are making this baby. And so that was great. But calling her when I actually needed it, now that's a different story. You know, admitting
Okay.
like where are we at on in this mental health journey of like now I'm really struggling and I see myself going in this spiral. I should reach out to her. It was tough to make that phone call because, first of all, I had had this history now where I've reached out to people for support and I've been hearing no's or I can't because, with all valid reasons. So now you're thinking, okay, I'm going to reach out to her. Does she have availability? Is she even open to having me a client anymore? Is she going to have any appointments? Like, how is this even going to work? Can my husband take the time off of work to support this? Now I'm a burden on him. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
for me leaving my kids for an hour at that point, I mean, I was it's going to sound terrible, but I was so sick of them because we had done nothing else than being together for so long that I was like, bye, see ya in an
Yeah.
hour, you'll be great. But being a burden on my husband's work schedule, that was the hard part for me.
Wow. And was that something that you were able to kind of articulate in the moment and be able to kind of have support to fact check whether or not, you were indeed burdening, or was that just your brain again getting really good at finding the fault in self?
It's something I still struggle with. Anytime my needs disrupt his work schedule as a stay-at-home mom, I feel very burdening, is that a word? I feel like I'm a burden anytime I need to use that because my job, I've always taken my job very seriously. And I have a really strong work ethic, and right now my job is raising the children, and that like childcare is under my domain. So when I need somebody to come in and take that over, it's like I'm not doing my job. I'm not meeting the needs. So that is something
Yeah.
that I still struggle with. Like make anytime I need to make an appointment, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I have to do this. I have to go to the doctor. I feel like I need to go to urgent care. Like whatever the thing is that requires him to take time off, I'm like, ugh.
Hmm.
I have no problem with using the time that he is not working. You know, I
Yeah.
do my podcast at night. I do my business at night, and then through the pockets of the day. So when he's done with work, I'm like, okay, have fun with the kids. But when he is working, even I think that's something I'm probably always going to have to just do the thing, you know, where you have to just do it and feel it in the pit in your stomach, and you know it's going to go away and it's going to be fine. But I feel like I'm always going to be having to just push myself into it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you have found that has been helpful for you to kind of move through it and not maybe get stuck in it?
Yeah, I'm one. You know how people do word of the year? Where like my word of the year is this. I'm going to really embrace that. My word of the year is just cringe. Like embrace the cringy. Like it might feel
Mm.
uncomfortable. You are very vulnerable. It feels like you don't want to be doing this because you know how weird it is. Like just do it. Like just hit send and go throw up and come back and like it'll be fine. Like do the things that
Yeah.
push you into it. So that's just embracing that helps. It doesn't necessarily make it easier for sure. I mean, in the
For sure.
moment, anytime you're doing something that you're uncomfortable with, it takes a lot in you just to like close your eyes, hit send, okay, I did it. I can't take it back, you know?
Yeah.
And then you get over it. And I think it's a muscle that will probably get easier over time as you
Hmm.
exercise that routine and that practice and feeling like there aren't consequences, like he's not mad at me, like these are things. And I'm still early in my parenting, you know, 3.5 years, 4 years. It's of being dependent on somebody in that way
Yeah.
That's not much time of practice, even though it feels like a lifetime.
Hmm.
It's really not that much practice that I've had so far. So I know that as they get older, it's going to get easier.
Yeah. And what I really appreciate about you saying that is I think sometimes we see that and we're like, oh, it's been like 3 years. Why is this not
Mhm.
like completely all, present, sunshine, roses already? And I think sometimes we forget that, especially if this is a narrative, right, that we've been having to navigate and work through for most of our life in comparison, the couple of
Mhm.
years versus however old you are, that's a significant imbalance as far as credit giving yourself, that like, hey, I've been trying and I've been trying
Yeah.
for these 3 4 years, five, however many, like, and I'm still trying
Yeah.
and I'm still working at it. I could have given up,
Right.
right? I could have said, oh, this isn't working, by I'm done. But it sounds like kind of for you, what you have found is finding a way to tolerate the distress,
Right.
which if anybody has ever been to therapy, you might have heard something along the lines of distress tolerance, right? And building up that skill. And you're exactly right, is that it is a skill and it takes so much work. And it's a daily kind of consciously choice.
Mhm.
And I mean, just to normalize for anybody listening, I'm a therapist, right? I do these things, I teach these things all day long. Distress tolerance is something I still struggle on a daily basis
Yeah.
with. So just to kind of put it out there.
Right, right. Like this is so not an isolating
Yes.
thing. You might feel weird and alone in it because that's what it is. It's a weird, icky feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody experiences it.
Yeah,
I think most
absolutely.
everybody. Maybe there's a few gems out there, but
I mean, if you haven't, I haven't seen it in my in my years.
there we go.
But if if you have, I mean, goodness, tell us your secret.
Yes.
Let's capitalize on that right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So I'm so, I wonder, and if you wouldn't mind sharing, kind of, have you, I know you mentioned kind of your passion project and where you've
Mm.
really been kind of leaning into, and it sounds like it's you kind of finding your way forward through that, through the feelings of loneliness and isolation and burdening, and kind of trying to find you again. Is that
Mhm.
a fair statement?
Yes, 100%. So to wrap up the crying baby isolating story, because it leads into the rest, is I tried everything under the sun, snacks, whatever, because eventually he got around 9 months, and that's old enough to give a baby like teething crackers in the back seat, right? We moved
Yeah.
his seat from the bucket seat to the regular seat. Everything we tried, I have it all documented. If you are in this too, let me know. What worked is he got older. He
Mm.
turned, it was like about 10 months old, and he just decided, you know what, this is okay. I'm okay with this. And I don't know if it's because he was old enough to now like really understand that I was still there. Like we had printed out pictures of us as a family and laminated them to put on the back of the seat. Like all kinds of
Oh,
things to
wow.
try.
Yeah.
Like we tried everything. We bought a minivan. I bought a new car to do this with.
Did
So that way
you?
I did. I did. And like I bought new car seats. I spent I'm telling you, I spent so much money on this. I don't regret the minivan. The minivan was a great investment, but that was the catalyst. That was why we did this. So that
Yeah.
way we could move his seat, his car seat next to his brother's, and maybe just being close to him. Or we just sat in the middle. We only drove places as a family where one of us could sit in the back seat in the middle. That's kind of where we ended up. And then eventually he snapped out of it, and life was roses. It was great. Like we could do all the things again. So at this point, he was around 10 months old. A lot of my basic needs were being met for like the first time, right? I was able to shower. I was able to eat. I was able to take care of my survival needs on a very basic level. And then I don't know if anybody listening, if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You go from the very basic, like survival, food, shelter, and probably hygiene is in there. I don't know. And then you start to like move up the ranks of okay, what is going to help me thrive as a human.
Hmm.
And for me, the next level was social connection, which was not being met for a very long time, even after those basic needs were now being met again. And then all of a sudden they were. I was able to socialize, I was able to do those things. So let's move up another level of taking care of ourselves as a human. And the next part for me was that self actualization, that who am I? Where do I fit into all of this? And as these needs were getting met, and my brain was allowing me to go through and figure out who I am, all of a sudden it like hit me like a slap in the face of I'm just a mom here. Like I'm like, am I even a person? I would sit there
Wow.
and think, like, who, not just who am I, but am I a person with needs that matter? Because the
Hmm.
person level needs certainly didn't feel like they were getting fulfilled. Like, being a mom, eating dinner often means you have somebody on your lap, or you are eating off of somebody's plate, or somebody is like punching you. I don't know. It's all kinds of things that's happening while
Yeah.
you're just doing something as basic as eating. And that doesn't go away for a very long time, I'm sure. At least I hope not, because I'm still in it. Um, so that makes it normal, right? Um, so these basic things, they're being met. I'm eating, I'm getting
Hmm.
my caloric intake, but not in like a dignified way,
Yeah.
right? My dignity is like gone. I don't have these pieces. So as I was met with where's my place in the world, I'm facing the first of all, I don't have my career anymore. I decided to leave that behind to be a stay-at-home mom, and I love that, and I wouldn't trade it. Like, I'm realizing that the bouncing back, the who I was, doesn't fit anymore. None of those
Yeah.
things made sense for me. So, where
Mm.
is that bouncing back? Where is that becoming a person again? Where is my identity? If those identities don't work, then what's left? Where am I? And you almost start to feel like a background character in your life. Like you're
Yeah.
just part of the storyline of everybody else. You're here to lift up and support, but what are you? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think as you're talking about that, I think just I've heard from, similar parents in similar situations where, like you said, it becomes a sadness and a grieving because,
Mhm.
like you said, there's who am I? And like if this is what I am and this is my only identity,
Yeah.
well, what happens when the children leave and the children grow? Then
Yeah.
that becomes an even, scary, like, oh, I don't like that. And then, you get those folks that are dealing with the empty nest and then all of a sudden going, I have absolutely no idea
Yeah.
who I am.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's a project for sure that is I know, going to revisit itself in so many different ways as things don't feel like they're good anymore. They fit my life for whatever reason. Maybe I don't enjoy them anymore. Maybe um that just doesn't fit my lifestyle anymore. The things that I'm now finding, I'll wade in and out of. Things will
Mm-hmm.
work, things will not. I'll have to let things go, but then you're left with this emptiness of what is there instead. And for me, one of my obstacles is I think big. I am a dreamer, I'm a planner. I like want to make things happen. But when you're in that mindset, you
Mm-hmm.
you often get left with waiting for the idea. Like, and then you're
Okay.
stuck, right? Like, I want to do something, but what is it? What is the thing?
Mm.
What is it going to be? And then you end up scrolling and you see what everybody else is doing. And you're like, "Ooh, I could try that." But I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where that would fit in. And what you're not seeing in the scrolling and the watching is the years of trial and error and building up the breadcrumbs that led these people to where they are, and what you're seeing as whatever measure of success that you're seeing in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to really stop myself and think small. Like,
Okay.
what are the baby things that I can do for me while I wait for the big thing that might or might not come, or might lead to that big idea, that big thing. What are those breadcrumbs going to be? And for me, the first thing that really stuck out to me was, I don't know if you follow Dr. Morgan Cutlip. she at the time was doing a launch group for her book that she was coming out with. It's called, it's right over here, Love Your Kids Without Losing Yourself. And that
Okay.
title smacked me right between the eyes. Like this is what I want. This is great.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do this is an idea. This is a hobby. This is something. So
Uh-huh.
I joined the launch group where we got advanced copies to read and really talk about them with each other. And then she did this pre-sale um, promotion where if you bought 10 copies of the book for a book group or whatever, she would do an hour Q&A with the book group. I was like,
Okay.
I can start a book group. So I went
Right.
on Reddit and I started a book group for moms where we read this book. Everybody bought, or at least 10 people bought the book. And
Uh-huh.
I had a goal and I found these things and from there, everything's kind of built its way. But I really needed that one little thing of reading with a purpose,
Mhm.
reading something that lit me up, that didn't feel like a chore, that was exciting to lead me to these other things that I'm now really excited about and doing and figuring out who I am and trying on new hats. Like, do I lead a book group now? No, I don't. Do I even read now? Not really, because I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. But at the time, that identity fit and it felt really good.
Yeah. Would you say that for you is maybe your aha moment, or was there something else that for you kind of, like you said, maybe some of these things started to click?
Yeah. I don't think I've had an aha moment really. I've had a couple
Okay.
little ones, truly. But I
Okay.
really think it's just been a series of breadcrumbs. Like one little thing that I did, like I started, I joined the launch group. I'm going to read it. And that led to, oh, I'm going to start a book group. Okay, I'll do that. Which led to, you know what, I can lean in more to my Instagram page because I had started a public Instagram page to kind of make connections. And oh, I can start doing activities and documenting the activities that I do with my kids. That'll meet a lot of needs because I started with an activity page. And oh, I should make some connections. And I started making friends. And oh, I can do this. And somebody said to me, oh, I love your voiceovers. You should do voice acting or something. And I was like, oh, a podcast might be interesting. So it's really just like a little game with a mouse, like sniffing
Mm.
out the next little thing. And sure, it
Hmm.
feels big. Like at this point, starting a podcast is a big idea, but it never felt big because all of it was like just tiny little steps to get there. And
Yeah.
and now I feel I don't necessarily feel like I'm not complete. I'm not like this is who I am. I am fixed. I am done.
Right.
But this project of finding out who what my identity is just so exciting. It like and I think that's the goal is reconnecting with your joy and reconnecting with yourself as a person and seeing where you can fit in and finding things that light you up that
Mm.
allow you to use the pockets of time in your day in an exciting way. Like you have these ideas. Like when you have that 5 minutes alone time, you know what you're going to do with it instead of doom scrolling because you don't know what to do with 5 minutes. It doesn't feel like enough to actually do anything.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of thoughts or insights as far as, like you said, maybe you have the 5 minutes, but your brain is going, I'm still super exhausted. And, I don't know if I could take on another
Yeah.
thing, even if it's a breadcrumb of a thing.
hmm I would say start by making a list, like truly a list of things that you want to do when you're not in that space. Like
Mm.
maybe it's when you're feeling bad about yourself. Like allow yourself to feel bad and say like, damn, I wish I had time to do this. I wish I had time to exercise. Whatever the thing is, I wish I had time
Yeah.
to watch this specific show and put it down on a list. And
Mm.
then when you get that 5 minutes, you have a resource to access that you can like use as a menu. Like these are some things that I can do. Like a 5 minute, if your goal is to exercise, a 5 minute exercise, a 5 minute workout is a workout. It's better than 0 minutes of it. Or a
Yep.
walk around the neighborhood, or honestly, a cup of coffee. I'm one thing I found working with moms is they feel really down on themselves. Like having a cup of coffee is such a lame excuse for, or a lame self care. Like, this is a horrible self-care. Like, what is my life that having a cup of coffee is my self-care? But that
Mm,
cup of coffee can allow you to really reconnect with yourself and dream and plan or check in with your body. Like, what do you need? What are your goals? Where can you go through that cup of, so just use it with intention. So maybe you start there. You have a cup of coffee with your five
yeah.
minutes.
And I think what you mentioned there of just even that reframe,
Mm,
because there is so much out there of what self care is supposed to look like, should look like. And there we go into somebody else's box of kind of defining what that means. And sometimes having that reframe of what is it that I need in this particular moment that I have access to, that I have the capacity to do. And, is that a way that we can just offer ourselves just that little bit of compassion, it
mm,
sounds like, in a little bit of grace, even
yeah.
to kind of say, hey, I deserve to kind of sit here with my cup of coffee and take a nice big, whiff of it and really just
Mm-hmm.
sit in the umph and luxury of
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
and slow down, even if it is for, like you said, just those 5 minutes. The kids, okay, maybe they're crying, the couple more, the couple minutes of them crying, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. Like, we need to, life is different now. And
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's not going to be like what it was. We're not going to be those people we are. But we're becoming new people. Like, we're not gone just because that person isn't who you are anymore. Just like when you were a teenager and you became an adult, that you weren't the same person anymore, but you aren't gone. You just need to figure out what's going to bring you the joy and then seek the
Mm-hmm.
joy. So I have a freebie on my website. It's a daily dose of joy challenge where it's a bingo board of just little tiny things that you can do when you're feeling overstimulated, overwhelmed, whatever you're feeling, you're just feeling down on yourself, that you can force yourself to do. Like, pick
Yeah.
any of the things, use a silly accent, say things in a silly way, give an inanimate object a name and start talking to it, like just tapping into really basic joy can help you remember what it was like to laugh again and
Mm.
remember all of these things and then it'll grow. It will start to blossom. It's like a muscle that you haven't used in a long time that you can really tap into.
Yeah. I love that. So, as we kind of come to a close, one of the questions I love to ask my guests is that if you did have access to a DeLorean, is
Mm.
there anything that you would go back at whatever point in time and offer to yourself?
Oh gosh, wow. That's a biggie because one of the things that I've had to really come to terms with is how much control I've had to give up, right?
Mm.
So in some ways, my brain first went to like, ooh, what would I tell myself to change or do differently? But so much of it I couldn't do any differently. I couldn't control the circumstances. So maybe that's what I would tell myself, but like I would never believe it. You know,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
you can't tell yourself. So it's all about accessing what you can control, what's in your control. So I guess I would tell myself to stop following the big ideas or stop searching for the big ideas and find that joy, find those pieces because it was way too long into my journey,
Yeah.
even though it's only been 3 or 4 years before I remembered I can be funny, I can laugh, and that's okay. Like, I think my kid was 3 when I really got together with friends and laughed and felt it like a big belly chest laugh.
Yeah.
So just telling myself to find the opportunities to laugh again and find the joy would be great.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Like you said, kind of finding the joy and maybe even giving ourselves permission, maybe
Yep.
to kind of go towards the joy, and that it's okay to kind of choose us
Yeah.
also. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to maybe be a either or. Can it be
Yeah.
an and?
Hmm.
Yeah. I love that reminder. All right. So for anybody who wants to connect with you, who wants to and engage or benefit from all these wonderful resources that you have, how can they best find you?
Yes, so I am on all of the platforms under Mom Identity Project, where I'm posting every day either clips of my podcast or just tips to help normalize this, but that are actionable and realistic that you can use. One of the ways that I'm looking forward to supporting more moms is I've always felt through this journey, like, I wish I had somebody to talk to about all these ideas. Like when you don't know where to start and you're stuck,
Mm,
I wish I knew where to go. So I love supporting moms in that way. I've worked with some moms of helping them like, okay, I really like doing activities, kids activities, but I don't know what I can actually do with that. So I helped her figure out how she can go into play cafes and offer like activities through that. So I love helping moms find what their breadcrumbs are and light them
yeah,
up. So if you're listening to this and feeling like, oh, I'm totally lost, I'm like you, I'm waiting for the big idea. Like, let's work together. Let's try to find the thing that's going to work in your life while lighting you up and not feeling like a chore. And then my podcast is coming out February 27th, where you're going to be in that initial launch group of episodes. Very exciting. It's called Mom's Guide to Finding Herself. You can find that all on my website, momidentityproject.com.
awesome. And as usual, all those links will be down below as well as this recipe. Here's my
Oh, it
pot
looks so
pie.
good. I love
Yay! So I'm
it.
excited to pop it in and have that for our meal today. So thank you so much for being willing to share this recipe, share your story, and really help in this journey of helping other parents feel a little bit less alone in this. So I really do appreciate you, Krissy, being willing to kind of come on and chat with us. So thank you so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time. If you or anyone that you know is struggling with any of the topics that we discussed in today's episode, make sure to check out our show notes for support and resources. You can get help. Thanks again for joining us on today's episode of The Real Family Eats. If you're a parent ready to share your real life parenting story, make sure to reach out to us in our website found in the show notes. And that goes for today's recipe, social medias, support, and resources. All of that can be found in our show notes. So make sure to check them out. And make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and stay up to date on all things The Real Family Eats. I hope you'll join us next time for more food for thought and thoughtful food. Enjoy your eats.